Well, we just arrived at Ordsall Hall in Salford.
It's this beautiful, beautiful building in the middle of a housing estate.
Some houses are burnt down, and it's just a weird, setting to have this beautiful manor house in the middle of a very modern housing estate.
I've driven past many, many times, but never actually noticed the place. Actually being here, it feels like a lot of the locations I've been to before, in that it's a grand hall, it's like a stately home, and certainly the inside gives that feeling too.
It's that sort of age to the building where you know that when this was built, that was seriously a different time to now. This is not a generation ago, this is many, many, many generations ago.
It's amazing, it goes back to the 1100s. And the amazing thing is that, of course, me coming from Derby, guess who it belonged to? Up until 1251, William de Ferrers, Earl of Derby.
We're in the middle of Salford, which is a highly residential area. Have to be careful of that because of traffic and noise from the residential area and lighting and lots of things. Also be very wary in terms of electromagnetic fields and from neighbouring pylons or electricity cables. So check out for that.
I'm getting a little better, becoming a little braver, and I'm becoming more intrigued with trying to find something. So we shall see what happens later.
Right, don't adjust your TV sets. It is me.
The highlight of my day so far has been to see Stuart. Great to see him. We've missed him.
Ordsall in Salford. What you want to do? Some of you fans may or may not know what's been happening with me, but I've actually moved to America. I got married in May, hence being on Most Haunted, which has been a bit of a bummer in all honesty, because I have missed this, I really have.
It's so lovely to see him. I'm in such a good mood, and he brings such a good atmosphere to the crew, and it's great to have him back.
I was up really early this morning, picking Stuart up from the airport, and it was well worth it because Stu's back in the country. We've flown him back in because we need him for Most Haunted, and I think you'll agree we need him for Most Haunted. And of course I needed my mate back, because good friends are very hard to find, and I don't like losing them to another country.
I've not slept for some hours now, must be a day or so I've not slept for, so I'm feeling rather tired now, but my adrenaline's pumping so much. I think I'm going to make it through tonight.
I've just finished filming the witness interviews. Lots of different stories, and they're very interesting.
We had a wonderful witness earlier, Jenny, who used to live at the hall and has got a lovely story about how her and her sister used to play with this girl with a ghost.
I was 5 when we moved in here, and so from about 5 years old I had a playmate. When my sister got old enough, she had a playmate too, but it was my sister who found out her name, because she spoke to my sister, and she told her name was, my sister's interpretation was celery. She couldn't say V, So everything had a C in front of it. So later on we found out it was Valerie, or Valerian, kind of thing. That was only 12 months ago we found out that.
It's interesting what she says about this imaginary friend, but it's also a little bit dubious because she was so young, and because I think it's not uncommon. It doesn't surprise me that a 5-year-old would play with an imaginary friend. So I was a bit sceptical about that. Very interesting though.
Just had a first light walk around with Ian.
I think the reason why I come in is as I look around, I feel like there should be water. Do you know what I mean?
In here?
No, like on the outside, it's like if I want to look down, it's just that I feel there should be water outside here. I'm kind of looking, it's just that I'm surrounded by water for some reason. It's bizarre.
He actually came up with a suicide of a lady.
It felt like somebody had ripped my neck from my shoulders. So I don't know if I'm with the same lady or not, but I feel I sense somebody swinging.
Right.
So I feel that somebody would have hung themselves here as well.
A suicide.
A suicide, yeah.
The area there.
Later that day, during the lit walk around, Derek is drawn towards the balcony in the Great Hall and picks up on a similar occurrence.
I feel as if here, for some reason, we would have had a lot of anxieties, a lot of anxiousness of people, and I can sense this at this moment, as if people lost their lives here in some manner. Now, I don't know at this moment, and maybe better find out a little bit later on.
So you're talking quite a few people?
Yes.
More so than just natural.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel as if they, because it makes me feel weak, and it makes me feel as if I'm toppling over here for some reason. Now, I don't know if people were actually hung or strung up from here, this area. And it's like this last feeling of, oh no, and then whoosh, as if their lives had been taken, as if they've just, it was like as if their spirit was broken at this point, and as if what's coming now is...
However, there are no records of any hangings associated with Ordsall Hall.
Ian picked up quite powerful feelings about a boy, 7-year-old boy called Jonathan, who was severely physically disabled, and it sounds like quite severely abused. So very, very negative emotions.
Maybe I'm shut in here. That's what I thought. Someone was in the water here. Someone would have been shut in here. So this has been had at a different day, but I still feel that someone would have been shut in here. I can hear a boy screaming, a bit like hell. And then Jonathan. And his knuckles are bleeding because he's been banging that hard. A lot of sadness in this room. It's like starving, he's really weak. Touched on death's door, I feel like he would have been left for some time.
I mean, I'm quite sceptical about a lot of the messages that come through for mediums anyway, especially, with the knowledge of the place, possible knowledge of the place. However, like I said, we'll see what happens with Derek later on, and maybe he can corroborate some of this. And it's kind of like a mini experiment. If two mediums independently are going into the same rooms and coming up with the same information, then it's interesting and worthy definitely of further investigation. But looking forward to later on, so we'll see what happens. Just had the first day walk around with Derek. Some information that he came up with, highly inaccurate, and from what I can see, just way off base.
Not much has happened, to be quite honest with you. Derek picked up on one or two things, but it was just names and a few dates, but that was it really.
I must be honest with you, Derek's come up with some what I believe, some remarkable stuff. He's mentioned a lot of people that lived here. It's reputed that the ghost is Margaret Radcliffe, and she died in 1599, and Derek's come up with Margaret and Radcliffe and the date that she died, 1599. He's also remarked on something which I find quite amazing, that she was rather regal, something to do with royalty, and Margaret Radcliffe was in fact a lady in waiting to Queen Elizabeth. So that was pretty good.
Weird sort of temperature changes. Certainly there's fluctuations in terms of an increase. Various places when we went up to the balcony there was an increase, and I'm getting the feeling as I walk around it is a very warm place generally, and certainly find myself sweating on a number of occasions. Feel a bit uncomfortable around the place because of that, because it's just unnaturally warm. For an old, large building, you usually find it's a bit colder. There are natural reasons for it. A lot of the rooms were going into a closed off and very little air circulation. But still, just thought I'd mention that. I felt quite uncomfortable, sweaty and hot. So we'll see what happens later.
The mood is changing slowly but surely. The mood of the crew, they're getting very excited now. I think something's going to happen tonight.
I've just been on a vigil with Rachel, Ian Norman.
We went up to the 8-panelled room and we went and did a vigil in the attic. We did hear noises. Apparently Ian was in contact with somebody called James, so that was really interesting.
And we heard loads of noises, saw loads of orbs.
Just got an orb over there. Oh, it's got an orb by the fireplace. It's got another one. It's got another one. Walked downstairs, and when we were in the noises that we heard when we walked across the floorboards, it was the exact same sound as what we'd heard when we were in the attic room. We caught a lot of orbs in there. I heard a child crying. What I could only explain as a little girl or little boy crying. And I heard it a couple of times, but you start to think, well, maybe I'm imagining it, maybe I'm not hearing it at all, but I'm, 100% certain I heard this. And at the corner it was coming from, I showed Ian, and he said that's where apparently children were shut up.
We were actually in the solar room, and I felt like someone sort of went like that on my head. It was a really weird feeling, but not a scary feeling at all.
I just felt like something kind of brushed past my head.
You just felt something brush past your head?
Top of my head.
And
So that's something I don't really know how to stop on my head. And it was kind of, we heard like what sounded like kind of laughing or voices, you know, a couple of times, and when we were in the attic room as well, so that's a good sign, it's a good thing. And my vision kept going really blurry as well. It's really weird because when I first came into this room, like, the vision in this room was a lot clearer than it is in the last room we were in. My eyes were quite focused on things, and for some reason it seems quite
blurry.
Yeah.
Blurry in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's energy, that's the build-up of energy.
But it's, I didn't feel that when I first came in here.
And it's there now.
It wasn't.
It is blurry.
Yeah, and my eyesight wasn't like that when I first came in here at all. All I could think was.
Especially over there by that fireplace.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, because we both wear contact lenses, it's like when you haven't got when your eyes are adjusting, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know whether that's because maybe possibly I'm tired, but it was just really strange the way I walked into the attic room and my vision was really clear. And then it was almost like my eyes defocused at like a central point in the room, which isn't normally the case. I mean, normally your eyes would take a while to focus to the darkness, but mine didn't.
I'm completely and utterly and emotionally drained. We've done table tilting again. I suppose people are going to start saying,
Oh God, not table tilting again.
but you've got to remember that we've done, for God knows how many shows, we've done seances. We've sat or stood and we've asked, is there anybody there? And it doesn't seem to work terribly well, although we've had some response, the best one ever of course being at Brannigan's.
But the reason why we're doing it is because we feel that we're actually getting somewhere. We're actually communicating with supposed spiritual entities.
I feel it's best, being of a sceptical nature, that I'm not involved in the table tipping. Now, it did move at a particular point, quite significantly. The difficulty with it is that the cameras are not focused on one point consistently throughout the whole thing. That's no fault of John and Vince who are filming, because they're trying to look at everything at the same time, so they're moving from one set of hands to the other. But it's quite difficult to tell, especially in low level lighting, exactly what's going on.
The table did move a lot, and I didn't catch, or I couldn't find any. I didn't see any signs of people trying to move the table.
And we picked up on this lady's name, Margaret, who apparently is the lady that committed suicide by throwing herself off the balcony. As soon as we mentioned this, the table moved again. Richard Felix was crying. Derek actually crossed himself.
I feel it was quite a success. I still feel that maybe we could explain to an extent how the table moved, but we've saved a soul. That's how I look at it. You're now feeling lighter and lighter as you go into your new home, as you go further and further away from us. As the door closes behind you, you are now greeted, and with open arms, your family, friends and loved ones. You now rest in peace.
I am very sceptical about table tipping. I know that pretty much works most of the time because people have a desire for it to work. There are controls that you can put in, and maybe at a later stage we can put those in. One of the crew did mention that a good control might be to actually get the sitters, the people involved in the table tipping, to wear soft gloves so that they couldn't actually push the table. Also, it might be useful for the cameras, especially if they're white gloves, so maybe we'll try that next time. And at some point in the future, hope to create a custom table that has pressure sensors around the table, so even if people genuinely believe that they haven't moved the table, pressure sensors would pick up on unconscious movement, so some sort of ideomotor muscular movement, just subconscious movement of muscles. So that would be good to do that. In terms of the vigils, we didn't necessarily pick anything up.
We tried something new in the vigil where we actually tried what's called scrying,
which is essentially looking into a mirror but doing something to distort the image in the mirror. So one method is to breathe on the mirror, so therefore creating condensation. Another method is to let water drip down it, which is what we tried. And Yvette, I think you'll see on film, had some quite interesting visual hallucinations where she felt her face was a lot older and at times her head was even disappearing.
Oh, it's horrible. I see a really old face.
Near the door.
On you or near the door? Or, yeah. Tell us what you're seeing.
My face looks really old. Like my face is distorted. Which it is, because that's what the water's done.
But describe your face. Have you got see wrinkles or?
Yeah. At one point, really freaked me out because I was looking into the mirror and my head completely disappeared. It was really strange. I know my eyes were playing tricks on me, but then I saw my face distort. Like my chin had suddenly got really long, and I had like this kind of, call it a Kirk Douglas chin thing here, and I was like a really old person, and that I didn't like that at all. I found that very strange. Obviously, I know that there is a logical explanation, but it did. You know, you try sitting in a supposed haunted house, looking at a mirror, and staring at yourself for a bit in the dark. It is very peculiar.
It's all to do with visual perception. In a darkened room, sitting in front of a mirror, you're focusing on one particular point and your eyes go in and out of focus. But still, it's a fascinating thing to do.
Well, we're just about to leave Ordsall Hall. What a really, really good night. For me, that tonight was interesting. The scrying that we did, looking and seeing my face age was really freaky. But that table tipping thing was quite extraordinary. And I shall look forward to the next location.
But for me tonight, I just don't feel that I saw any ghosts or felt the presence of any ghosts.
I think this place maybe is haunted, but I have seen I've seen no evidence of it myself. It's been a very enjoyable stay.
I want to try and keep building it and trying new different things. I feel we're getting somewhere, and I feel that, you know, if we're sending spirits off to the light and then that's surely a good thing.
Thank you very much for joining us this week with Most Haunted. I hope you enjoyed it. We obviously did. Until next week, where we're at somewhere else that's equally as beautiful, and hopefully we get more ghosts. Yeah, join us next week. See you then.
My name is E08.
Orbs are good. You're safe with orbs, you know where you stand.
Richard Felix is so noisy. Listen to him.
Guys, we've just seen orbs.
A door is often heard opening and shutting when no one is here in the exhibition area.
I think Carl's in shot. Yeah. No, I wasn't.
That's it for this week's Most Haunted Extra. Sleep tight.